Hello, and welcome back to another Dokkan battle video. So, I tweeted this out a little bit ago because I have been constantly thinking about the Peppy Gal banner that is going to be dropping a bit later in the month. I think it's about like a week away now or something like that. We should see whoever it is soon. And with that in mind, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to summon on that banner because Bunny Bulma in the news is said to be featured on a coming banner soon. So, I was going to be like, all right, cool. I'm going to summon on that banner anyway. I want to make a couple concepts for that Peppy Gal banner because I think I can make a couple good characters that can work really, really well in the current day content. So I made two characters specifically, and we're going to go ahead and talk about both of them here. A kind of little teaser here. We're going with a Ran fan and a Coquette. If you don't know who Coquette is, or Coquette, I don't know how to actually pronounce her name. That is the Universe 11 Pride Trooper, right? If we look at Casual here, she's right here, right? That's what that is, just in case anyone gets confused. So we got two concepts. Again, this is based on the double rate banner that will be dropping presumably in about like 5 days or so. Let's go ahead and jump into Coquette first, just because I think she's a bit more interesting here. So what I had her do is now she greatly raises attack and defense for 6 turns, causes supreme damage to enemy, and lowers enemy attack, which is pretty nice, right? You're going to be able to get a bunch of those stacks in, and she's going to have some pretty solid stats. I have had her stats calculated for me by a buddy of mine, right? Shout out my man Phone. He'd be doing all the math because I don't like doing all that. And she can get up to some pretty decent numbers. So pretty good with those stacks there. Her passive skill gives Ki +2 and attack and defense 180%. She gets an additional attack and defense 100% when performing a super attack. She launches an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super attack for each Peppy Gal or tournament participant category ally attacking in the same turn. That does include herself. So on a hypothetical full Peppy Gal or full tournament participant rotation, she can do up to 5 super attacks, getting her all of those glorious attack and defensive stacks. Now, somebody might be saying, isn't that kind of strong? Aren't you going to be getting an absolutely kind of ridiculous amount of stats? And, well, I would say yes. You also got to keep in mind, right, one thing about the Peppy Gal characters that drop here, if we look at the last 2 years, right, Mamba and then Android 18, they don't really have really high stats spreads. So when you see these like big numbers in here and these big stats here, it's because the fact that their actual base stats are a lot lower than like a premium like character. This is like a random banner character that you're going to be able to pick up and like run with, kind of similar in a similar vein to like Bunny Bulma, that kind of thing. So while the actual numbers in the passive are really high, they're not going to translate into super stupid numbers that you would typically see from like a character like Tech UI Goku, Age UI Goku, right? Now, funny enough, though, I say that, but when we were doing the calculations for this, we had to tweak Coquette a bunch here because I wanted her to specifically be able to help people out with the Universe 11 mission of Goku and Frieza. And if you know anything about that fight, you know that you have to surpass 10 million plus damage to Goku and Frieza, which is a 15 million type neutral crit, right? So Coquette, specifically on the Jiren team, if you have Tech UI and you have AGL Jiren in his standby on the opposite turn, you have the domain active, that kind of thing, and you're in that Goku and Frieza phase, if she does 5 attacks, her last hit is going to do a 19 million attack stat with a crit. So she will be able to damage. Just saying. She also gives Peppy Gal allies, tournament participants, or special pose category allies Ki +2 and attack and defense 40%. I wanted her to be kind of good on the special pose team as well, just because it's very rare that we get special pose buffs, and I feel like her being able to not only help out Peppy Gals and tournament participants, which are her main categories, but also special pose a bit is also kind of nice. Makes that Topo kind of centered team a little bit better. She gets an additional attack plus 100%, guards all attacks, and attacks become critical hits within the same turn. If she has another tournament participant category ally attacking in the turn. Now, she can get that active on all of her major teams. Special pose, obviously, Topo, right? Tournament participants, that's the category, right, that she wants to be ran on for her actual passive there to get the additional super attacks. And then you have Peppy Gals, right, which on Peppy Gal's team, if you're running the Roshi team, right, not only do you have access to Tech UI and Tech UI and Agile UI, but you also have access to Tech 18 and then the other character who is a Ran fan, right? She's a world tournament unit. So you're going to be able to use a couple tournament participant characters on every single one of her major teams, and it's going to just be able to allow you to work with that, right? And get not only that massive attack buff, which is what allows her to actually damage Goku and Frieza if she's getting a bunch of super attacks in, as well as giving her guard and guaranteed crit, right? Typically, these Peppy Gal characters come with kind of broken mechanics, so she's able to kind of really pop off the walls, I should say, right? And it's to compensate for the fact that their stats are a lot lower than like regular characters. Her links: Signature Pose, Hero of Justice, Tournament of Power, Battlefield Diva, Solid Support, Supreme Warrior, and Shattering the Limit. I actually had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what the hell kind of links to give her because she's not in anything, right? I don't think she's in like a single game, so it was really hard looking for it. So what I decided to do, obviously Battlefield Diva is like a given for any female character that gets added to the game. And then since she is a Universe 11 Pride Trooper, all of them have Signature Pose, Hero of Justice. And then since she's, again, from Universe 11, she has Tournament of Power, right? And obviously she was going to have Shattering the Limit. It was pretty much these two slots here, Solid Support and Supreme Warrior, that I had trouble kind of picking out what I wanted to give her. And I ended up with these because Solid Support she can have with God Topo, and Supreme Warrior, pretty much all of the major Universe 11 characters have that, except for Dispo. I don't think STR Dispo has that. He has Speedy Retribution instead. I considered giving her Shocking Speed, but she already has so many key links, right, that I didn't want to give her another key link. I wanted to give her like an actual link. So she has Supreme Warrior now, which again, Casserole has that, which again, she's in that card, so I felt like it wouldn't be that big of a stretch to give her Supreme Warrior. I could easily see her getting like Coward or something stupid, but I wanted to give her like an actual solid link set. That way we didn't deviate too far away from characters that are pretty good. And then for categories that she's on, of course, Universe 11, right? She's on Special Pose, she's on Universe Survival Saga, Peppy Gals, Space Traveling Warriors, Defenders of Justice, and Tournament Participants. Surprisingly, both of these cards are on a decent amount of teams. I didn't expect that when I picked these two characters. Like, I figured Coquette, or Coquette, or whatever her name is, would be on, like, all the typical Universe Survival Saga teams. But, like, the Defenders of Justice and Special Space Traveling Warriors and stuff, and Special Pose is just kind of the given when you're dealing with, like, Pride Troopers. So, like, she's on a decent amount of teams, and every single one of those teams she pretty much shares with either another Pride Trooper or a Peppy Gal character that can fulfill her conditions. So I feel like it kind of just works. We also did give her a little bit of calculations on the Roshi team, right? And if I take a look at one of her calculations here, you'll see it in a second if I can pull this up real quick. Here's what she looks like on the Roshi team, real quick. Let me just wait for this to load, and then I'll show you guys. It actually is kind of impressive because, like, you're looking at her and it's like, all right, well, her stats seem pretty good, and on paper she's pretty good. This is what she looks like on the Roshi team. You can kind of... let me zoom in a bit for y'all. Her turn 1, after she does a couple super attacks, is pretty low, only 800k, but like most events, you're not really in that much trouble. But remember, she also has guard, right? So it's about 800k with guard, which isn't the craziest amount. She can probably get caught if she gets hit by the super attack, but normal should be fine turn 1, except I think for the Evolution Blue Vegeta event, she probably would take damage there. By turn 5, she's basically at 3 million defense with guard, and then if you have Roshi's active, you're at 3.7 million defense. Right. She's completely fine, especially with guard. She'll be really, really good. And I think it'll just work pretty well. It's pretty funny. Right. So that's Coquette. I think she's cool. I think it'd be nice to get different kinds of Peppy Gal characters in the game. And not only is she going to be able to help out Universe 11, but again, new Peppy Gal characters, right? It's always nice having new named characters, which I feel like is what they try to go for with these Peppy Gal banners. Next up, we have Ranfan. Now, the only issue with Ranfan getting a new card is the fact that Ranfan's appearance in the anime is pretty limited. She only really appears during that one world tournament. I believe it's the 21st world tournament where like Master Roshi wins, or I guess technically Jackie Chun, right? And she ends up, getting a bit frisky during the tournament. So it's kind of I feel like it's kind of like hard to get her into games because you kind of have to move around that and basically remove half of her damn screen time, right? Because they're obviously not going to put Ranfan in her underwear in a card that that you can get right now, right? So, the way I designed Ranfan, right, she is a Dragon Ball Saga character, obviously, so I wanted her to help out Roshi's team specifically. In Roshi's team, one big thing about Roshi's team that is lacking... Oh, that is the wrong thing. One thing big that his team is lacking is a slot 1 defensive character. So Ranfan, her entire gimmick is to be a beefy tank, which is kind of weird because it's Ranfan, but they always do weird things with these Universe 11 girls, or not Universe 11 girls, these Peppy Gal characters. So let's go ahead and talk about Ranfan. So, for starters, she greatly stacks defense on her super attack, causes supreme damage, and has a seal, which is nice. For 3 turns from first appearance, she gets 30% damage reduction and performs a guaranteed additional super attack to help her build up her defensive stacks a little bit. She gets Ki +2 and attack and defense 180% at the start of turn. She gets an additional attack and defense plus 100% when she is attacking. She guards all attacks with another Peppy Gal, tournament participant, or Dragon Ball Saga ally on the same team. Pretty easy condition to get active. She has an additional defense plus 70% and 50% damage reduction when guard is activated. Technically, that is an on-hit effect when it comes to when guard is activated, but a big thing about what happens when guard is activated is that triggers even if you dodge an attack. So you're going to be able to get those stats even if she dodges, and then as you can see here, her final line of text is, she has a 70% chance to dodge, and she also has a scouter when facing only one enemy. So she's going to be able to dodge, still get that extra defense, still get the extra damage reduction, so she is protected if she is going to be taking an attack, with that little bit of damage reduction, a little bit of extra defense, while also building up her defense with every single super attack she does. So she's pretty damn strong. If you want like a kind of idea of what she looks like, here is her on turn 5 on the Roshi team. This is linked up next to Bunny Bulma with Roshi on rotation, but with not Roshi's active skill. She had 2 million defense start a turn. That is with 4 super attacks. And remember that she also has damage reduction, right? So that is with guard and 50% damage reduction and 70% chance to dodge, and she also has a scouter. So you can slap her wherever you need her, pretty much, to eat damage. Right, so I think she's pretty damn good. She's going to be a character that's not going to be doing a whole lot of damage, but I feel like on the Roshi team, you already have so many characters that can do that. AGL-UI, Tech-UI, Videl, Kefla, right? Even Bunny Bulma and Roshi can do a lot of damage, so like she's going to be one of these units that I feel like is probably going to be like a must-run, not because she's doing any real damage herself, but because she is just going to be really, really beefy. Her links here: Battlefield Diva, Brainiacs, Coward, Guardians of the Dragon Balls, Incredible Adventure, Infighter, and Shattering the Limit. Pretty solid little link set. Obviously, Coward is pretty garbage, but links like Guardians of the Dragon Balls, Incredible Adventure, Infighter, Battlefield Diva, Shattering the Limit, like these are pretty common links on like the Dragon Ball Saga team, so he's going to be able to be pretty effective on there with pretty decent linking partners. I based this solely off of the SR Ran fan, and funny enough, she actually has a guard and damage reduction passive as an SR, so that's kind of how I designed this card, right? Her categories: World Tournament, Peppy Gals, Dragon Ball Saga, Earthlings, Earthbred Fighters, and Tournament Participants. She doesn't have a lot of categories, but the ones she does are pretty relevant right now, except for like World Tournament and Tournament Participants, right? Those aren't like crazy. Tournament Participants is pretty much just the Universal Lava Saga, but she has this, and it's also pretty helpful because, of course, Coquette or whatever her name is, right, needs one of those allies, and she's going to be able to fulfill that condition for her. So pretty solid little group of free-to-play characters, or not really free-to-play characters, but like just standard banner characters that would be dropping on a double rates banner alongside whatever EZAs, which is probably going to be Kawaii and Margarita, and then as well as the units from last year. So I think it's pretty good. I personally like them a lot. If this is what they did drop, obviously I would summon for it because I made these goddamn cards, right? But these are pretty simple cards. They're pretty strong. They're not so broken that like, oh my god, they're the best characters ever, but they're not garbage. Like if you randomly were to pull these when you're summoning for like, let's say Worldwide Download Celebration Super Saiyan 4 Goku, right? And you pull one of these cards, you're going to be like, okay, cool, I can use this card and it's going to be pretty helpful, but they're not cards that you're going to have to go out of your way to get. They're just going to be really helpful extra options, especially for characters and categories that need the help, like Universe 11 or the Goku and Frieza mission, and then Roshi's team for the premium banner character that just dropped. So those are my 2 concepts for 2 new Peppy Gal characters. Let me know that if these characters were to drop in-game, would you guys summon for them? Would you pull for them? Do you like how these guys turned out? Let me know all about that stuff in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.